Perfect. Remember, calendar committee is now a public meeting, so we are being recorded and live streamed. So we just need to remember that as we go forward. All right, we're here today, obviously, to look at the calendar for 25-26 school year. The rough draft is coming around. But we're gonna go through this real quick before we get there. As soon as everybody gets the calendar, they're gonna be looking at that and not paying any attention to here. All right. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go around the room and do introductions, just where you work, what you do, and then how long or how many times you have been lucky enough to serve on the calendar committee. And then we're gonna go over kind of our group norms, potential future meeting dates and times. Right now we have Thursday, February 26th as our next meeting date. The calendar blueprint, we'll go over that, and then recommendations and discussions. So I'll go first. Carrie Lombach, this is my second time at calendar committee. I came back for a second time. I work here in the district office.
Kimmy Burkert, so this is my second year as well, and I'm supporting the superintendent and school board.
Joel Hoff, acting superintendent. I want to say this is probably around 8 to 10 would be my guess, calendar committees. All of them great.
And Becky Porter, I'm a language arts teacher, 8th grade at the middle school, and I think it's 4. I'm not sure. I think it's 4.
Jake from the high school, first year.
Welcome. You're in for a real treat.
Pretty excited already.
Kimberly Bonner from Crooked River Elementary. I believe this is year 3. And unless I'm in the wrong year, the 26th is a Wednesday. Okay,
Oh, look,
it could be in the wrong year.
we'll get to that.
No, mine says Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm Melissa Bunting from Crooked River, and I think it's been 5 years or so, something like that. Tony Harvey, Pioneer. I am also a calendar committee version, so. This is my first time.
Welcome.
Welcome. Caught me off guard. Michelle Powers, no, you're fine. I'm at Steens. I don't know, 15-ish something, a long time.
Emma McLeod at VO. This is my first round of calendar. Marilee Smith from Barnes Buttes, academic coach, and this is year 2. Kelsey Duran, Barnes Buttes, Student Success Center, and I think between 12 and 15 years for me that I've been on the calendar.
I feel like there are people that should be doing more than this. Have better experience and better history than I do, so I rely on you guys who have been here longer than I have. Last year was super smooth. Last year we got most of our work done in one meeting and then did a follow-up meeting just in case we had any concerns that came up with the people that we represent and the people that we chatted with. So I'm hoping for the same thing this year. We are missing a school board member, which we have typically had in the past. Our school board member who was a member of the calendar committee. We are working on their replacement. And so we are hoping that in the February board meeting that we will get a new appointee to the calendar committee and we can meet them at our next meeting. All right, so we'll go through norms. Remember consensus, but not necessarily unanimous needed in terms of approval. We're gonna do a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a thumbs to the side, like we support, we can live with, or we are absolutely opposed to that. As we go through and make decisions, if there's anything like that. Questions are encouraged, and in fact, I love those because I don't have all the history and the knowledge that has come to this, and so I love it when people ask questions. Helps me learn too. Just curiosity about what everybody comes to the table with and why they are active and why they want the thing that they want or are interested in. And then remember that we make a recommendation to the school board. That's what comes out of this group is recommendation, but the school board is ultimately in charge of approving and deciding on our calendar. All right. February 26th at 4 p.m. It is on the 26th, but it must not be a Thursday, it must be a Wednesday. I don't know why I thought Thursday. Maybe it's because I was hoping today was Thursday. But it is. Okay, and then other dates as necessary. But I'm real hopeful like last year that this meeting plus one more, and we will have a working calendar that we are all fairly happy with. All right, so the first thing that CC Smith always taught me was the most important on the calendar is to make sure that it aligns with university calendars. And so I have done that for our breaks, specifically spring break. And start dates and end dates are a little funky. None of our universities align exactly with that, but our spring break does align with COCC, OSU, and U of O. And at last check with the ESD, they keep a compilation of the drafts of calendars that are coming in from around the region, and our spring break and our breaks also align with them. With the exception of Sisters, who has 1 week longer for a Christmas break, no, Thanksgiving break. They have a 2-week Thanksgiving break.
And spring break.
Yes, maybe it's
Spring
spring break. Yes, they have 2 weeks of.
Does it have 2 weeks at Christmas too?
Yep.
2 weeks of Christmas, 2 weeks of spring break,
Yep.
yes. All right, so when we look at the calendar blueprint in front of us, you will notice that we are missing a teacher contract day to equal 190. And the reason why I left that off and thought I would leave that for discussion or consideration is because the easiest way to do that would be in June to make the 12th the last day of kid school and have teachers come back on Monday for the grading day, which is not always the most popular. So we can talk about that.
Can I propose an alternative?
Huh?
I would propose August 29th, which gains a half day of PD for the district and a half day for teachers to prepare.
Can you repeat the situation? It looks, this is the 25-26, right? So the last day of school is the 11th?
Yes, which would make,
On this, but it's only 189 days. We gotta get to 190.
Oh, got you.
Cause that's the
Oh.
teacher contract.
I see. Okay, sorry.
so just to clarify, Michelle, you are proposing that on the back to school week, that teachers work on that Friday. Divided half between teacher directed, half between district directed, because that is contract language in the CBA, that those days before startup have to be 50-50.
Who did that picture?
We did it a year or two ago.
We were saying like contractually, that'd be the teacher. If I would just be giving out half a day to the district to have that be, because if it's a full teacher day.
No, I'm saying we would add, so, and it doesn't matter where it falls, but in
Just
that week,
split it.
2.5 days, district, 2.5 teacher. Doesn't matter how the 2.5, like if it's half day every day, or it doesn't matter, but it just has to work out to that.
I know when we did it like 2 years ago, I can only speak for the middle school, it was widely unpopular. Actually, I was completely like unaware, so it was one of those days that people ended up not coming because they're like, we've never worked the Friday. It's it's our last like, like family weekend, So, I know that was, a problem where people are just like, I'm just taking it off. Just use so.
We voted on it, and that's what people voted for, like landslide. And I think we would, I don't know. I'm not on the board anymore, but it's not to say we couldn't do that, but like
So who voted on it?
the membership,
Yeah, we sent it.
but you
out
have to be a
our
member to
members.
vote. That's why, so maybe not everybody saw it, but
And then what
We- we
happened is
board
we
members.
compared, we said that versus coming back on the Monday in June.
yes.
And everybody voted for that, the August instead of the Monday in June. So those were the two proposals that we sent out.
Yeah, I don't have my computer right.
Yeah, I don't have it either, but I.
No, and I'm
remember
not saying
it was
that didn't
huge.
happen. I'm just saying the reality of what happened when it did happen.
Right,
At
they voted in
least from-
February.
Yeah.
For that,
Right.
and by the time August,
Exactly.
whatever came around, they had
Yeah,
forgotten
I
their.
mean, we even had
commitments.
administrators who were like, oh, that's right, we were supposed to be here on that Friday. So it was just something that was so widely out of the ordinary that families Well,
We did it a couple years in a row because we had to do we had to do some MOUs because we actually did 3 and 2.
Mm.
3 district directed, 2 teacher directed, and then CCO was like, listen, our people want their time. They want us to follow their contracts.
I
That's
don't
why.
remember the two, but I just remember the
Yeah.
last time we did that, it was.
But I would just like, granted, I have an elementary lens, but there's so much PD that people are saying they wanted a need and want a need. I could see where that could be a benefit.
It seems like a good possibility to fit
Or doing some
more
extra irony or big ideas or
those big
something.
Things, whereas at the end, that last Monday is likely to be
They'd have a lot.
not as useful in that way, but
Yeah.
maybe more useful. Okay, so I
Is
have
this
that.
something that you, that we should send out to the members? For a vote?
We only
This
have to
versus this,
really
or-
vote on it if we voted on it because it was that. Or giving up the time, so we had to vote like with the membership. The district can say, like, this is your day to work, but. It's because we went and those resulted in MOUs, is why we voted.
I'm just not sure if we should. That helps make the members more aware. if- Also ahead of time, so they can't say when.
You hope so.
Yeah, when August
They
says,
still,
wait,
I don't know.
yeah.
And then it's just our job to continually communicate that between February or March or April and the following. That's a thing. I don't think it hurts to ask people's opinions about whether you would rather have that work day on August 29th, or whether you would rather come back on Monday, June 15th.
I think it would be good to ask too, because if it's on Monday, June 15th, then teachers get an entire full day that they are choosing. Where in the other instance, they are only getting half of a day of their choosing.
Well, it's not, the 12th would be moved to the 15th. So one way you gain a student contact day. And one way you gain PD and teacher work time.
That's what she's saying. Cause they
Is
would
that
get
what
a
you
grade,
mean,
a
Melissa?
full grading day. Yeah.
You still get a full grading day per
I
the
see, I
contract.
see. Yeah.
But
you're
if
right,
we
you're right.
bump the
Yeah.
11th, right, you gain a student contact day if teachers come back June 15th.
Gotcha.
And if you do it the other way, you gain some PD and teacher time.
Yeah.
Is the difference.
Other thoughts around the table?
If you do it on the Monday, come back, everybody will say, can we work on Saturday? Work a few hours after school.
Every time.
It's always different. Yeah.
And some teachers or principals allow Saturdays and some people allow, it gets kind of messy.
Real messy.
Mhm.
And should this be a vote just for, that goes out for just certified, or should classified do one too, like? They're,
They're not bound to days like that.
okay. So it's just the teachers that should get contacted. Okay.
Well. depends So on just to
Wait.
clarify, you said it would be a half a day of professional development?
As per the contract in the start of week, it's 50-50. So
Be a
whatever,
full day of work,
yes,
it would just be half day teacher choosing, half day district choosing.
How
or-
that is distributed throughout the week, though, is
But then,
that?
yeah, it could be.
yeah, the district decides when you get your 2.5
yeah.
or 2 or whatever, and then, yeah.
This is a full contract reopener, right? So that language could be changed.
Well, and that's part,
Sorry.
technically, yes,
Yes.
but I will say it is a full bargaining year and always, whatever, this is a recommendation to the school board. And then even if the school board approves it, if anything changes in the contract, we have to come back
I
and
think
change
that
it.
that's here on our collective bargaining agreement right now, currently that we're operating is 190 contract days.
Yes.
3 grading days, 1 free grading period, and free service before school starts. Currently is 4 days, half are district directed, half are
Yes.
teacher directed, and so even if that adds another day, like we've been talking about. Half of that time, I guess maybe even more than half of the days, half of the time is district directed, half of the time is teacher directed. As you see on the calendar, we put them Monday and Tuesday as one and Wednesday and Thursday is the other. But this year in our calendar, we did it every other day. It kind of just depends. But yes, school board policy says that we have to present a calendar by the April board meeting. We know that certified negotiations will be probably taking place during that time. If language changes, which needs to change the calendar, then we have to bring it back. in front of the board. So we're in that real sweet spot right now of making a calendar when we don't necessarily have all the information in front of us.
Could you give people the choice of coming back on Friday, the 22nd, or staying the 29th? Whereas the 22nd is tied to that like extra holiday, that like 4-day weekend type, you know what I'm saying?
Interesting idea.
Say that again.
So coming on Friday, the 29th.
22nd.
The 22nd, that's what I meant.
saying.
Yeah.
So the new teachers have
Of
already
which
done
month?
some
Oh.
startup. And then on Monday, you're already back to work anyways, so would you rather come on Friday? And like get stuff going and then take the weekend and come back and finish up and still have your 4-day weekend before the year starts, or? I don't know.
I'm just double checking, and this was counted the extra comp day, right, that teachers get for staying late for conferences 2 evenings.
Yeah, I believe Tammy and I looked at that and made sure that was in there,
Mm.
but more eyes on this is always good. We decided today.
Tammy, will you go into November and just fix the spelling of Thanksgiving? Sorry. I just caught it.
Was there ever in the history, they said, we're at 189, it works out well with the calendar, everybody
Never.
works so hard.
You are paid for 190 days and
Call it
you
good.
will work 190 days.
The only exception sometimes is if we have a snow day, but we don't always make them our snow days, and therefore
Gotcha.
you still get paid for 190 days, but.
I'm gonna just start counting up to make sure.
If you were gonna vote, I don't think anything's wrong asking if you'd rather have the 22nd and 29th.
The only thing
least
is that
people
still
feel
has to be
like they
half
did it.
DO, I mean,
Yes.
half district and a half teacher, so that also would have to be. Is
We
the
could make-
district
yeah.
ready a week earlier?
I would say that just right now off the cuff, I would say that we would make the 22nd teacher directed, and then the district would take their time in the following week. Just thinking about getting PD or thinking about organizing.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Friday does, but a Friday works well for
And how
teachers to
nice
come in
is-
and get their classrooms and, yeah.
Your first day, you didn't have to do anything but be in your room.
And to be honest, I mean, many of us are there anyways, so.
I think that was the conversation at
Yeah.
this end of the table regardless.
Yeah.
Many of them.
I really think that's a good idea.
So we can put the 3 places in there.
Not that I'm surprised you didn't.
Thanks, Kimberly.
The other piece in here, so we'll have those proposals. And then we'll summarize those at the end, but the other one last year, Dr. Hoff gave us the idea of having a teacher directed day on November 1st, which was the day after Halloween, which everybody really loved having that. This year, it means that we move that to October 31st and don't have school on the 31st with kids. Okay, I didn't know if that was gonna be a positive thing, or if like, then you just end up having it on the 30th, you're having it on the 30th.
That's
anyways.
fine.
They're not coming back after a night of trick or treating.
Okay, well, there can't be over the weekend.
Yeah, or I didn't know if you might consider or proposal to have that on Monday, the 3rd, to have that district director day on Monday, the 3rd, and then have kids at school on Halloween.
At the middle school, that was the most popular change last year to the
I
calendar.
think only because
And I gave you
November.
credit every time.
Appreciate that.
You're
To
welcome.
take the day after Halloween off.
Yes.
And this year, do you think it would be equally as popular to
Yes.
not go to school on Halloween?
And leaving it where it is gives November 2 normal
Yes.
weeks instead of just.
Mhm.
All right, going through October, Jake leaving, the October so that you have the opportunity to have student support days. Is that still what the high school would appreciate during those conference? Okay, and we know what to do going forth with that as well. Let's see, Thanksgiving week. Christmas week. So as we move through there, what the other consideration is that the high school has asked for longer trimester 1 and trimester 2, which shortens trimester 3. So this probably mostly impacts the middle school and the high school. And I think that it looks like, I didn't recount these, but first trimester would have 62 days, second trimester would have 56 days, and then third trimester by far is the shortest with 51 days. They have taken, the high school has taken that to their benchmark coordinator and many of their teacher teams. And because of advanced placement classes being offered first trimester and second trimester, they really want those days in those trimesters to prepare kids for those exams and those end of the year pieces. This year, they feel like their first 2 trimesters were the shortest and they needed more time. Did I get that right?
And that adjustment has been made to this.
It's on this
Yes.
calendar already.
Okay.
We made that adjustment ahead of time.
One of my concerns is this upcoming workday that we have next Friday. It's pretty enticing not to go to OSAS training and make that a 4-day weekend. And then you can just do it on your phone. So,
For teachers.
yeah, I'm just like taking that 13th and butting it up to President's Day. I'm just really worried about how many people are gonna be gone on that. Is there a reason we
Can
have
you
to turn
switch
that
to
into
the
a
20th?
4-day weekend? Like, what if we put that on the 6th instead and kind of separated those?
It's probably because of student attendance, but I understand where's. Like students, a lot of parents pull kids to make a long weekend. Cause they travel.
Oh, they travel anyway. then.
Yeah.
I wonder what the reality of that is for presidents.
I don't know. I'm sure there's a way for them to look at it. But I don't know what it is.
You have difficulty getting your teachers trained for OSAS. And
So you want
the-
February 6th, what about even later, what about February 27th?
Training we're doing that day.
Kimberly, do you want it earlier or would you be open to February 27th? We're being a little bit later, sorry.
OSAS opens in April,
I
but
feel like we're running into
Choose May.
state wrestling and state basketball where people are gonna be gone also. If we were gonna move it, my favorite would be probably February 6th. But we don't have to.
That's what we're here for. Other thoughts about that?
do we have to train in February? What's the timeline? Can we train earlier when our, now that we do FI,
Yeah,
IABs, anyways, that we do them like. Our
We
new
could do it on an
teachers
extra half day.
have to get trained. Can we?
Yeah.
Flip it and train really early?
we've had that conversation, that's. So what you just said is on the half day that we would gain in August, in that training.
One thing to run into on that is the test administrative manual gets updated annually, and I don't think it's out till later,
Hmm,
but I love the idea.
I think that is.
Do you know when the manual is typically
You know,
released?
let's have that, we can ask Cindy mid-off. She
I
would
think
know.
it's October. In my head, but it could be right.
Because people's trainings that allow them to do the IABs role, it's an annual
Yeah.
thing, so we gotta remember to train our new teachers on that.
I already have it on the PD
Well,
schedule.
already ahead of it, but yeah, I don't know when the annual cycle of when the major comes out.
Can we take a minute and count? Cause I actually think we're at 190 right now. I don't think we need to add a day. Can we double check? It's like on this current calendar, August is 4, right?
Okay.
September is 22. Paid days for teachers. Correct?
Including holiday, right? Yeah.
October is 23 and a half. Is that what everybody gets?
I'm just doing your numbers on my count, on my phone.
Okay, well, let's make sure. So 5, 10, 15, 23 plus a half, because we work till 8 PM. Just write that down. 15 in November, is that correct?
Google says that OSAS updates it by the first day of school in October each year,
Could be at the October training.
but that's Google.
16 in December, is that what
That's
everybody gets? The 5, 10, 15 plus Christmas is paid now. January is 19.
Is either one of those are paid?
February is 20.
Yep.
March is 17. Yeah. 22.5. May is 21. June is 10. Sorry,
Did you say, can you go back to April? How many days?
22.5.
Okay.
Let's be at 190.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Ian Lambert was always really good at this back in the day.
We're at 190, my friend.
Okay. That's funny, because when I did my calculations earlier, I only ended up with 188, and I was like, I am sure that I'm off. But I must have,
We used to have like the total in the quarter, which
And
was a
we-
nice little thing.
and we did, I asked Tammy to take it off because it was, the numbers were still from last year's calendar, we hadn't updated those. This year yet.
I mean, if I kept getting 190, you got 190.
Michelle, is there totaled over there in the right column under the teacher work schedule? Do we know which,
Oh, which
Which
one was
number's
off?
off?
Which number's off? That's
Where?
that would maybe help us?
Where?
So
Are
in
you
the
looking at?
top box,
In the box.
169 student contact days,
Always
maybe
right.
we have,
Oh, I don't know. So conference
That
days,
does equal 189.
different in April. Okay.
I think it's on the conference days. Oh, wait,
No, those look right.
no, those are right. Teacher directed staff days is actually 4. 2 in August, 1 in October, 1 in April. So something else is
Now we're
off.
working too much.
I don't know what it is.
Uh-oh.
What did you say was teachers? Teacher staff directed days?
Teacher directed days currently are August 27th and 28th, October 23rd, April.
Yeah, but each one of those is only a half a day.
No, they're full days.
The 23rd?
Conference in the evening.
The
on
23rd conferences don't start till 4. They go 4 to 8. The 26th, they don't start till 4 or whatever. And go till 8. That's where you get the half.
So the half is
It's
4
paid.
hours. in
Yes,
each.
4 and 4.
So it is 4 days.
Yes.
Fine, paid holiday.
Now, I don't know what else is off. There are 5 paid holidays. There are 3 grading days. Oh, no, because you have start of teacher work days out different. That's why it is 2 and 2, sorry. District directed.
Well, but, Christmas is a paid holiday that's within time off.
Tell me what you mean.
So we're
It's like
counting
16.
work days,
December counts as 16. I'm not counting work days, I'm counting contracted days.
so you counted 16 in December?
Correct.
Okay. I didn't write down the numbers.
So the student contact days have to be off by 1.
Okay. So there's 0 in August. 10, It should be 20 in September, right?
That's what I got.
It should be 20 in October. Should be 14 in November. Should be 14 in December. Right, does that match what you got, Kimberly?
To 110.
Sorry, I'm just looking at my total and subtracting, but you don't have that, sorry. January should be 19, it's the same as 5, 10, 18 in February.
Okay. That might be
16 in March, so you got. And 5, 10, 14,
Okay, so that's
16.
student contact day. So we do have 170 student contact days. So
yeah, 17.
17 in April.
In April? What am I missing? Oh, you're right, I'm sorry. It
Tammy,
is,
since you found it.
where was it?
Well, when we did our mock-up, I don't think we counted September 2nd as a date for all students.
Well, let's just keep.
I'm just gonna add
Keep
this,
going.
so you got 20
I'm doing it
plus
on,
20 plus 14 plus 14, you are too,
Yeah.
plus 19. Plus 18 plus 16 plus 40 plus 9. 170?
Yes.
Is that what you got too?
Yeah.
That's what you got, Demi, 170?
yes.
Yay, we don't have to ask questions or add a date.
I still would like an extra day of PD, but
We could change the student contact date of a day of PED, that's always an option.
That made my job a lot easier. Just saying. Carl.
how does everybody, well, now that we've gotten that taken care of, does everybody feel like we would rather have an extra day of PD and lesson as student contact day? No. I'm seeing a no.
I say
I-
yes.
I would say yes.
What do you say, Mayor?
Yes,
Demi?
and I think that we could move February 13th to October.
So you're wanting to take away a student contact day and add a PD day?
At the start of the year, just during the year? or-
If it were me, it would be somewhere else during the year. There's a big, long time between October and February.
So in November, the 11th, so we're gonna go to school on Monday and then not go to school on
That's what
Tuesday.
the federal government has.
Okay, because sometimes they observe it on it, okay.
Not in like the last 4 years.
What if you made November 10th a PD day?
It's another 4-day weekend. What's my 4-day weekend problem?
Yeah, then the staff doesn't wanna.
Yeah,
I
there's,
just mean kid attendance is gonna be low anyway, that was why I was thinking that, but.
right, yeah, you give teachers a weekend, tell them to come back to work on a Monday for a PD day and then have a Tuesday off.
Well, it's true, I mean, they're gonna take, I mean, they'll take it off for, I mean, some will for work, but.
Yeah.
Worry about. My vote is not to do PD over kid contact. I don't want to take another day out of kid contact. That's just my vote.
I don't know that I necessarily would be an advocate for less student contact, but I do think we have a lot of things that teachers would love to be trained in right now that they haven't adequately been trained in.
And we need to make sure we have the training lined up because. You know what I mean? Like it needs to be worthwhile or right, you need to be in front of kids.
Well, I think, right, we build the calendar and then you guys.
For my
What about
PD
second?
place, when you do have something that your district really cares about and wants consistent come back around with training opportunities or opportunities to say like, remember this as a big group or as a district. It's helpful to have a day to say like, oh, that needs a little refinement, or, oh, we noticed that we missed out getting that piece of it. It helps when I don't have to, or when we don't have to say like, it's up to your building to make sure that happens on your own time with the schedule of the things that you have to get done.
Which I like that about February.
Yeah.
For sure. I just don't want to carve out another one. Our data doesn't support not being in front of kids.
I do think if it does happen, November 10th is probably a good one because we already know student attendance is probably going to be down that day on anyway.
Right, that's true.
And if the staff really does want training, they'll be there. I mean, it's a hard one because yes, we want a long weekend when we have kids too, right? But we already know school-wise, our school attendance will be down. so many teachers that day probably can't do a lot of meaningful things in which they leave most of their kids behind.
What about secondary? How does secondary feel about?
I feel like November 10th, if we did that, then teachers would just take the 10th off and extend their weekend.
I mean, about in
One less
general,
contact
one
day.
less contact day.
versus-
I think our teachers would rather have the. With their days to-
Well, you guys have a math adoption too, right? Secondary is
They've
math
already-
adoption.
Yeah, high
The
school has,
time,
but
the time that we,
it's.
I don't know if we'd make it a teacher directed. Because again, it's,
It'd be district, right?
Be district directed.
well, it was on the 29th. I thought I heard that how we distribute the time is up to us and we can make that Friday.
That's adding a day to the calendar.
Oh, okay.
We're looking at replacing, not replace, potentially replacing a student contact
Okay,
day.
yeah.
Becky, what do you think?
Becky, you
Or
were
student
no.
Contact.
Well, that's kind of a hard
Just
question
depends
to
on the PD.
answer. I don't know that there's an overwhelming like cause for more PD from people at the middle school. I mean, we have different things in place where we work with our departments and, you know, like things like that. So I guess it would depend on what is the professional development and how valuable would people think that is as compared to having a day in front of kids. So it's kind of a hard thing to answer just off the cuff, like.
Wonder if this is where, like some of our primary versus our secondary or elementary versus secondary. Is having everybody in the same calendar with the same parameters can sometimes be
I believe so.
difficult.
Could be a way to test it? For one day and see, we floated potentially different calendars. Or schedules or like. Scheduling in high school versus elementary.
It's been a board directive though, to keep it the same.
In the past, that's been a priority. Is that we don't have days that one level is got kids and the other doesn't. I don't know what the priority continues to be on that. Also, we'll get a lot of new board members in the next couple of months, so.
Could we do a survey for teacher interest at the different levels and then a survey on what kind of training they may potentially want, just to get information? I do know Redmond has been operating different calendars for the different levels for years. I only had one kid, so I didn't have to coordinate two different calendars potentially, but I didn't run into lots of people who had an issue with it. You just knew it was different and you just dealt with it.
Might be a tough transition,
Yeah,
but I think that's fine. Go for it. Yeah. Back to that at the end of, as we go through the rest of the calendar, then are there any, so we've had a proposal. Two different proposals to move the February 13th day to an earlier day, to maybe February 6th, or maybe even earlier in October. So moving the September 26th district directed day 1 week later to make sure that the OSAS manuals were out. And then doing OSAS training early in October. Did I hear that right? Potentially.
Yes, but we need, that, like I said, that's Google, so Cindy needs to.
Well, district directed, and we already have October 31st as a district directed staff development day. Why couldn't we do OSAS on that day? And then I would propose we move the 13th to the 6th.
I still wonder, and I'm not currently working with students, I don't do anything with OSAS with students, but I remember as a classroom teacher. When that gets closer and you go through the training, it's kind of like, wait a minute, I can do this, or I can't say this, or they can have this, or I have to cover this. I just wonder if we do that so much earlier in the year.
It's a little different now that we're doing the interim testing,
Okay,
because those mimic real testing, and so
Okay.
it's kind of in front of your face. A
gotcha.
lot more.
Okay.
Do you think it would be good if it's at a staff meeting or like an intermediate staff meeting to remind people like, hey,
Are they happy?
like maybe when you do your scheduling, cause like, I don't know, but like. probably Sarah or you poll, Mayor polls, I poll, and we make a schedule, maybe we'll review some of those things.
Yep, that happens.
I do think maybe earlier in October is better only than the end of October because we start IABs, FIABs around the beginning of October, I feel like, don't we?
I can tell you.
I don't have to schedule, my computer died, so I
I'm so
don't.
nervous today. I brought it all. October 28th to November 1st is our first FIAB,
This is our first one.
but we could bump that back a week.
I was gonna say, yeah, we put it on the 31st.
Oh, and that's when we practice all together with our class and go over all the tools. So it's not even like a real.
No, it's just nice, especially with staff turnover, because then those teachers, like every new teacher, we're having to like, they're having to train on their own. And that's really hard and just, it's just hard.
But I guess.
So
what
I
I'm
do
saying
like
is we
doing
could
it
still
earlier.
train
Yes,
On the 31st and bump that first FIAB practice one to the first week of November.
I
which would
agree.
be Right after we train, so you
I
can
agree.
implement it.
that's a good idea.
I think if you're to ask high school folks, it would move the 13th to later in the year, like in April, because the complaint always is we do a bunch of PE at the beginning of the year and then there's no time to revisit the stuff that we worked on at the beginning of the year. There's no time to like kind of go back and cover it. But I understand also that that doesn't align with anything we've been saying, so.
I would agree.
I think this
April's
year,
better.
we would have liked time to go back over a few things.
Just, it's like really it's really front loaded and then there's no time to like,
I feel like we used to have one in April or something.
there's nothing.
Remember, this is just my second one. I don't
But I mean, like when you were a teacher, didn't we used to have a,
I don't remember, April and May have always just felt like August.
or maybe it's just because conferences were in April?
Like days too late, but.
Yeah.
January and May are the longest
Yeah.
months.
Yeah, maybe early April or
Yeah,
end of March would be nice. I guess you can't really do much in March. 'cause it's
no,
spring break.
we got spring break, so.
Yeah, like first week in
Maybe
April.
Or just
April
keep
10th.
it as is or bump it up a week or
Come
whatever.
back for a whole week and.
Yeah.
When is?
How does it, if OSAS opens in April? High school is the only one that really gets started right away after it opens, right, the window.
Mhm.
In fifth grade science sometimes in April.
We do, language arts.
Right away in
It's still
April.
pretty, yeah.
Would having a PD day or removing that February 13th date early in April, would that? Be a
I think the only problem is you've already taken a whole week off in March. So when we come back, we're trying to get after testing and get back into a school pattern, so.
It feels like with PD day in February, that was at about the halfway point, which feels like a good time to revisit things maybe, but I don't know, just a thought.
I think the February day is really good.
Mhm.
Hence my suggestion of putting one more day somewhere in there.
So you could leave a February day and then add one in April.
Oh,
Yeah.
Just.
That'd be great.
You know, Kimberly's not a, Kimberly's a thumbs down, I can
Do
tell.
we need to vote?
I think we'll do that at the end when we kind of summarize all the different
Yeah.
proposals.
It was lost in there.
I do
Student
think it
contact.
could be nice, like Kimberly's saying, to bump the 13th to the 6th because
They found it.
it's closer to mid-year benchmarking and already, so maybe we can do some PD with some of that data and what we do.
Yeah.
Like some some like data-driven instructional stuff.
Or just have the data, analyze your data and make plans for the rest of the year, like.
Because
PLC. Stuff we're trying
For
to
sure.
piecemeal right now, we could concentrate
Because like
on.
benchmarking for all the things is wrapped up at in January, mid-years benchmarking.
40 colors, it's the same.
Okay. All right, so to kind of go back over, we do end up with 170 student contact days. I think we figured out that it was the September 2nd date that Tammy and I hadn't counted as a full student day. Because I wasn't thinking.
It takes so many.
So many years. So we're good there. So we no longer need the proposal of the August 29th. We can, no sending that out to vote if that's what you're for. this doesn't need to be on this calendar, but what I heard, just to make sure, what I heard everybody saying is maybe move OSAS testing to the October 31st date, and we do like not having kids on Halloween. Their parents probably are not gonna love that.
Candy crawl starts at like 2.
I was gonna say,
anyway.
it's kind of nice for candy crawl.
That's true. So hearing those two things, the 31st, great, as a no kid day, as a district directed day, and OSAS testing training being a part of that day, moving that earlier in the year, both for our new staff and to prepare for the FIAB. Other than that, things are staying until we get to February. And I heard a proposal of maybe moving February 13th to the 6th to keep it away from that, having that 4-day weekend. Potentially, I'm gonna take that Friday off. Peace. And then we have something kind of looming or out there about, do we need an additional PD day versus a student contact day? Very mixed reviews. Mixed reviews.
We voted on that?
Not yet.
We're working on that.
When you say like that you would like another curriculum day, what are you thinking as far as curriculum additional development?
My brain really goes to elementary on
Right,
that, and in
that's
terms
how
of
I'm
it,
feeling.
almost every year, they are adopting and implementing something new. And we give them the buy the car PD at the beginning of the year, right? Like, here's how wonderful our product is, go out and here it's gonna change student lives. 2-hour PD from the publisher. And then we rarely have time to come back around a couple different times in that first year of implementation, or even in the second year of implementation, since they are continuously doing that. And it feels like by the time we get to spring, in my last couple of years, I have gotten lots of things about I could really use, or we're struggling with, or this has risen up to be something that we need help with. And it would be nice to have some real in time to schedule early, but some in time check-ins on those pieces.
But that's like the perfect scenario, right? That's the scenario we're in right now. We can't find somebody to do the training for us.
Well, and that's because on mine, I got started a little bit late on that because we were on a different path of where our time was going.
Yeah.
Versus what we ended up having available. So there was a little bit of a perfect storm with that, whereas normally I am hopeful that that would not be the case. But Joel's gonna be a bit thumbs down on this one too.
I definitely hear and see the need for additional professional development time. You've had various conversations, both at the secondary and elementary level on that. But I'd like to find ways to do that without being at the trade-off with a student contact day. Just knowing our families and working and the burden that puts on families, to me, that's a tough sell. So I'd like to figure out how we get more time without the trade-off being a student contact day.
Yeah, and I mean, I totally understand what people are saying about like, the community and like how they schedule things, but reality is, that elementary requirements and what they're doing is completely different than what we need at the secondary level. And so to take half a school district and take away their student contact time and tell them they have to come up with some kind of PD that they're not really like professing that they necessarily need or want, it just doesn't seem, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it's gonna fly with people on my end. I mean, but if the elementary, if they're willing to say, we can do this, and I'm sorry, but on this day, you're gonna have to make arrangements for your kiddo because we need time to be able to, then that's a different conversation, but.
Becky, is that kind of going back to the advocating of having an elementary schedule versus a secondary schedule?
Well. Yeah, yeah.
Redmond currently does that.
Well, and I don't know, I only know, Deschutes County, and I do not see them trying to make the high school and the elementary do all of the same stuff, because they're completely two different worlds. So I know that's the way we've always done it here, but,
And they do have different instructional minute requirements.
absolutely they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, I'm not an elementary school teacher, but I know enough people that know elementary school teachers that feel like a lot of the pressures and the time commitments they have are not the same that some of us face at the secondary. We have different, pressures and requirements, but they're not the same. So trying to lump them all into the, one big schedule, one big, thing is maybe isn't always going to be the best thing for.
I appreciate this. One thing I think we can make a thumbs up or a thumbs down on is moving the February 13th day to a week earlier in February to the 6th. To make sure that doesn't fall in kind of a 4-day weekend trap around, like, do I extend my weekend with both my kids and and myself? So do we thumbs up and moving that, thumbs to the side, we don't love it, but we can live with it, or thumbs down, like, no.
Do this, but
Yeah, I don't.
the middle school wrestling district tournament happens on that weekend, and when there's no students there, it's probably much easier for them to operate, so it'll just be more complicated for the high school, if they're gonna keep doing it at the high school.
So that's happening this next weekend. Oh, you're saying having those, yeah, that's a problem.
So that's why I'm like this, because I don't really care, but it will come with its own set of challenges. That's already happening.
So I
We
mean,
can do it, but it's.
don't you think that if somebody is really committed to that, they're just gonna take their personal day on Friday, whether it's a school day or a district directed day anyways? I mean, are we really preventing that many people from?
I think it's a lot more enticing when you don't have to do
Mm.
something, when you don't have to feel guilty about not being there when your kids are here.
Right, I think that's the biggest thing is you feel guilty not being with your kids. Then it becomes an easier day to.
And you don't have to do something.
Some plans.
That's your goal.
I'm still
Take care.
like, whatever.
Okay, so I had some mostly thumbs up and thumbs to the sides, I don't think I saw any thumbs down from that one.
The facility usage though is a legit concern.
It'll be a complication and we'll have to talk about it and figure it out.
Cause that's at the high school
Mhm.
and how many kids flood in there.
They use the commons and both gyms and the library and the plenary room and the entire parking lot.
And then you've got lots of adults in and out that you don't.
There's like 8 schools there. Cool.
Okay, so
That's
let's
a big consideration.
wrap this up for today's meeting. A couple things. Tammy's obviously typing notes, but we'll get those out. And then maybe bring in some other voices. We had, I think, 6 people who could have ended up being here today that were on the committee. So coming back on February 26th. And now that we're thinking about these things. we'll have further conversations and then see what our February 6th to February 13th commitment is and talk a little bit more about PD. So thank you guys for finding the student contact day.
Yes, thank you.
That prevents, those cases. Hey, any further things on the calendar that anybody wants to have out there? We didn't really talk about the trimester 1 and trimester 2, which shortens trimester 3. Any other big concerns about having a shorter trimester 3?
I don't think anyone in elementary.
I don't,
Doesn't affect what we do.
Secondary gets more input on that.
Becky, you can't see a problem at the middle school for that. It would make a lot of high school people really happy. Yeah.
Most, except for maybe 1 or 2.
You can never make everyone happy.
Oh. Have you learned
Drive-
that?
drive to
I
life.
think that's a life lesson, right? Can't ever make everyone happy.
People are always asking about snow days and especially now that we have snow. Remind me how many snow days we can have before we're tapping into these potentials that we always are now putting at the end of the school year.
It goes down to done instructional minutes. So as we get close, we always build in a cushion in the schedule. And usually after one or
High school is always the
Yeah.
one that's our close one.
so I would think without looking at the minutes in front of me, it's usually like a 3 or 4 day buffer, I think, before we can start makeup time.
Depends
For
on the
elementary and
district's
middle school, yes.
discretion.
Not for high
For
school.
high school, we
It's
do
a little
not.
tight,
For
So,
high school, we have,
Sometimes the state offers waivers
Yes.
because of inclement weather statewide.
so last year we
So
got. a
this, it's
14
really the
hour
district
waiver.
chooses if we make it up to now.
so there's a cushion.
So if there were 2 different calendars that could potentially help with one of those problems too, maybe the high school
Potentially.
could have more cushion built in.
Well, not necessarily, because the teachers all still have to work the same.
Yeah.
You can't just say, hey, everybody's gonna go. But
No, but I mean, like, if we had the the PD day, then they have that other student contact day, so they've now got another day cushion where they had the
If we separate.
instruction.
I'll just- I know that would-
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Any other things that we wanna bring back? All right. February 26th, whatever day of the week that is. That is when we will meet back here again, and hopefully we will also have, our board member who is gonna be on the calendar committee, who will join us on that day and kind of give us a little bit of their perspective, which is nice to know. At this time. Thank you guys all for being here. Appreciate you. If you didn't,
For your free work, to be this far in the minutia after one meeting is pretty great, so, nice job.
Tammy, for that. Appreciate that. Yeah, if you guys should
all your experiences, I'm just learning, so thank you.
If you didn't sign in, please do so, and meeting adjourned, Chris.